Ning walked out of his room. Walking itself felt very weird to him. He felt like he hadn't walked in a long while, but they weren't deformed from not being used either. It's such a weird experience, he thought. Ning didn't want to attract any attention, so he quickly took off his nearly 10 different gold badges and kept them in his storage. Ning heard a sound coming from behind him and turned to look. The person coming towards him looked young and was someone Ning had never seen before. A new teacher? Ning wondered. The teacher had a bronze badge on his chest and a look of confusion as well as disgust on his face. He quickly walked around him and went outside. That was rude, Ning thought for a second. Why was he staring at me like that? He wondered. Am I dirty? He quickly checked his appearance and soon realized just how much his hair and beard had grown in the last many years. Oh, I forgot to cut these, Ning thought and took out a blade. Using his divine sense, he quickly cut all the excess hair and destroyed them. I don't look that bad, he thought as he checked himself out. He looked a little older, but not by very much. He made his way out of the underground and walked up to the open. Whoa! He said in surprise to see a very different building on the outside. They were the same building as before, but more and more stuff was added around the outside. I wonder how long this closed cultivation went on for, he thought and went around checking the different things. He saw many students and teachers, but almost all of them were different. He made his way to the staff underground on the other side so he could find the principal. Nobody stopped him since he was wearing a teacher's robe, so he quickly reached the room. He finally found the principal, but it was a woman he had never seen before. Who are you? The middle-aged woman asked him. Oh, I'm a teacher who was gone for a while. I came to check if the principal had changed at all, and turns out you were, Ning said. You were gone? Under whose approval? She asked. Oh, the previous principal, Ning said. I see, then that's fine, the woman said. Still, you were gone for nearly 40 years, that's not very good. Please try to come back to the academy every few years if you can. Oh, sure, Ning said. What's your name, by the way? It's Yola, the girl said. Nice to meet you, Principal Yola. I will see you around, Ning said and walked away. Hey wait, what's your name? I need to look up your information, Yola said. Oh, it's Ning Ruigong. Goodbye, Ning said and left. Yola then brought out the previous principal's documents and looked for Ning in those documents. However, no matter how much she tried, she couldn't find his information at all. Ning walked out of the underground and went to the Alchemy Wing's staff room. He walked in to find it to have completely changed. There were many teachers here that he didn't recognize at all. The desks and benches seemed to have been shifted around. The room was redecorated, and the shelves certainly had a lot more books now. He walked up to them and saw a few books of his own that he had casually wrote out of boredom a few times. Are you new here? An elderly voice came from behind him. Oh, sorry. I'm not new, I was just gone. Ning turned around and stopped when he saw the gray-haired old woman with a gold star on her chest. The woman was mostly unrecognizable, but her eyes were still the same as when she brightly used to look at him with reverence. The girl saw Ning and felt like she knew him. Slowly, memories started coming back to her and her eyes started tearing up. Teacher Ning? She asked in surprise. Hello Rhea, how are you? Ning asked. Teacher, you are still alive. How? She asked. Huh? Why wouldn't I be alive? I was just in closed cultivation, didn't I tell you? Ning asked. Why yes you did, but then you didn't come out for so long. We all thought you died in closed cultivation. We thought you failed to. Rhea stopped speaking and emotions overtook her. Hey, it's all right. I'm fine. I was never in trouble during cultivation, Ning said. The other teachers in the room were starting to get drawn to the commotion as they looked around at each other wondering why their teacher and senior was crying so much. Anyway, congratulations on becoming a gold star. It's still the same requirements, right? Ning asked. Yes, of course, Rhea said as she wiped her tears. Anyway, things seem to have changed a lot since I went missing. I will go around and look at the different things. You do what you have to for now, Ning said. Rhea nodded. I'm happy to see you doing so good, Ning said as he patted her head and left. Ning walked over to the Beast Master's wings and saw that things had changed quite a lot with no one he knew still there. He asked around about Gonez and most people didn't even know who he was. He then walked over to the artifact wing and looked around. He walked inside and saw the same thing. Different room and different people. Sigh, things really did change around here, Huh? He thought. He turned around to walk back out when he bumped into someone at the door. Ning was pushed a little back, which surprised him given his body cultivation, but the other person was pushed back even more. Oh, I'm so sorry, I didn't see you. Ning stopped when he finally saw the person he had bumped into. His mouth opened up as he barely spoke out the word. Eli? Eli? Ning asked in surprise. Eleonora looked up and saw the relatively young face of Ning. Is that you, Ning? She asked, unsure of herself. Yeah, it's me. I just came out of my cultivation an hour ago, Ning said. You are finally out, she asked in surprise. What? Why are you still here? Didn't you go back to your house? Ning asked. You are finally out, Eleonora shouted. Haha, I thought you were never coming out until I died. No, I'm not sure what I would have done myself, Ning said. Weren't you in closed cultivation yourself? Also, how come you've not aged a day? Aren't I the one immortal? Haha, I bought a skill from my system that gave my eternal youth. I stopped aging physically since that day, Eleonora said. I came out so many times, but missed you every single time, Ning said. I'm glad I finally got to see you. Don't say that, Eli said. She was starting to tear up by now. I will cry if you do. Haha, it's good to cry once in a while, Ning said, as he teared up a little himself. Anyway, what are you doing here? What do you mean? Eli asked. Why are you still at the academy? I thought you would have left by now, improved the Rigot family, and gotten a better life out there, Ning said. I love being a teacher here. It gives me the freedom to work on my craft. Besides, Ender is back at home with father and sister-in-law. He's handling the family now, Eleonora said. What about you? Don't you have a family of your own now? A husband, or what is it they say? That's right, a Tao companion, Ning asked. No, Eli sighed a little. I waited for the right time but, never mind. Oh, right, when did you come out? Ning asked. I've been out of cultivation for nearly a century. You're the one that took forever to come out. If it weren't for me knowing you were immortal, I would have suspected you to be dead by now, Eli said as she chuckled a little. I took a really long time, didn't I? Ning asked. Of course. You were gone for, excuse me, teacher Eleonora, a student walked up to her. Yes, Hareen. What is it? Eli asked. I needed some help with my project. Can you tell me what mel I should use if I? The student asked some questions and Ning watched Eli answering the question. He smiled when he realized that he had missed it quite a bit. Once the student walked away, Eli turned around and said, Let's get away from the staff room, or more people will come to bother us. Sure, let's go outside, Ning said and started walking. They talked a bit as they walked out. Eli started telling Ning about how the students and teachers basically didn't know her anymore after coming out of the closed cultivation. Ning also spoke about his experience of seeing nothing but changes everywhere and how incredibly bizarre it was for him. Wow, I can't imagine how you must be feeling, Eli said. Honestly, I was so close to forgetting about you many times. It was only when I saw the systems panel that I was reminded of your existence. Wow, was I gone really that long? How long wa? You? Stop right there. Someone screamed from the top of their lungs while flaring their cultivation base to try and stop Ning. However, the aura was of no concern to Ning. What's she doing here? Ning wondered as he turned around to face Yola. Hey, Principal Yola. What's going on? Ning asked. Teacher Eli, catch that intruder, Yola shouted from further away. What? Both Ning and Eli were super confused. They waited for Yola to reach them so that she could explain herself. What's going on, Yola? Eli asked. Teacher Eleonora, do you know this man? Yola asked. Of course, Eleonora said. All right, then. Since Teacher Eleonora knows you, I won't make it hard for you. Why did you come to this academy? Yola asked. Ning was super confused now. What do you mean why I've come to the academy? It's obviously to teach, Ning said. No, you are not a teacher. Tell me when you are here, Yola shouted. There was a crowd of people gathering around them by now and they were looking at the commotion with quite a lot of interest. It wasn't every day that the principal got this angry. Are you confused, Yola? Ning has been a teacher here since a long time ago, Eli said. Huh? Yola was confused now. But I checked the previous records that were left behind for me, but I couldn't find his name there at all. There are no records of him? That shouldn't be the case, Eli said. Did you really check it properly? Of course. I checked it 3 times, but I couldn't find any name called Ning Ruigong. Anywhere, Yola said. That's weird, Ely said. Ning was also confused as to why his records wouldn't be there. He had clearly asked for permission and was given it quite easily. If not for the permission to go on closed cultivation for as long as he wanted to, he would have been expelled from the academy. Oh, I might know the problem, Ely said after thinking of something. Yola, did you check the archives? Archives? No, I haven't entered the treasury in ages, Yola said. Why? Ely then turned to Ning and asked, who did you request the leave for closed cultivation? Huh? Who else would it be? Obviously Maeve. She was the only one with permission to let me do that, Ning said. Sigh, I knew it, Ely said and brought out a formation setter, before setting a concealing formation between just the two of them. Maeve died 600 years ago. We had 2 other principals after her before Yola. Huh? 600 years ago? Wait, how long was I in cultivation then? Ning asked. Sigh, I wanted to tell you this earlier, but was interrupted, Ely said. From the time you joined this academy up to right now, it has been a little over 1,800 years. Ning thought he heard wrong at first, so he asked to confirm. Sorry, did you say 1,800 years? He asked. Yes, it's been 1,800 years since you joined the academy. I'm around 2,100 years old right now. Although, most of it was in closed cultivation, so I don't know if I should call it that, Ely said. Wait, I was inside for so long. You were here for so long, Ning said. This was the most time he had skipped ever in his life. 2,100 years, that's a lot of time for a nascent soul cultivator. How many years do you have left? Ning asked. I should still have a millennium before I die, Ely said. Thanks to the books you gave me, of course. I will give you something else to improve it even more, Ning said. Anyway, I think we should fix this misconception. Ely nodded and cleared the formation setter and took it into her item box. Teacher Eleonora, what are you doing? Yola asked. All of you, go away, Ely said to the students, who immediately dispersed. Some of them showed courage and stayed behind, but they immediately left when Yola followed Ely and shouted, disperse. What is happening? Yola asked. You should go to the treasury and look up his name. Believe me, he is a teacher, Ely said. If you say so. I will go and check, Yola said and left. 1,800 years, huh? The last one must have lasted over 1,000 years too, Ning said softly. So long. Don't fret much, Ely said. That's the life of a cultivator. In search for a few hundred more years, we waste away thousands inside a room. Sigh, what's happened has happened, let's go somewhere else and talk, Ning said before walking away. Along with Ely, he went down to the city, which had broadened itself by quite a lot. All the buildings seemed to have been changed or renewed. The culture in the city was also a lot different. Ning just walked around in silence as he watched. Where are we going? Ely asked. I don't know. I'm just walking around, I guess, Ning thought as he walked with Ely behind him. They walked for a few hours as Ely followed behind Ning. Ning strayed off the path and walked into a forest too. He looked around talking a lot. When he reached the middle of the forest, he called out his beast. None of his beasts looked different, not even Blue, who was supposed to be evolving. However, their cultivation base was certainly reaching its peak. In fact, Ning could feel that they were about to break through to the higher realm. Huh? But I thought breaking through to spirit transformation was impossible aside from the origin. Or is it that the beast space's feature with chi gathering made it a good place for them to break through? Ning wondered. They're quite strong, Ely said as she too could feel their cultivation base. Aren't they? Ning asked with a chuckle. Guys, go around and have fun. I will find you guys in a few days. You are giving them free rein? Ely asked. They've been cooped up in the room along with me. I can understand what it feels like now. So I think they deserve at least this much, Ning said. I see, Ely said. Anyway, I'm planning on going around to meet a few of my people. Can you go back by yourself? Ning asked. Ely was about to say yes when she thought of something else and asked something else. Can I not come by? She asked. Oh, of course, you can. Although only I know them, so I don't know what sort of time you will have, Ning said. It's fine. It's in the northern continent, right? I've been dreaming about going there. They fixed the teleportation formation to the southern continent, so I've been there. But they are still struggling to do anything for the northern continent, and it's quite annoying, Eleonora said. Wait, they fixed a teleportation formation? When? Ning asked. A few centuries ago. Two formation master brothers worked all their lives and managed to finally learn enough about the teleportation formation to fix it. The Sephir Empire has been quite a busy place thanks to that. They were called by the Emperor of the Noatra Empire to do the same for their broken formation too. But it seems there is something really wrong with that formation and they can't seem to fix it, Ely said. A teleportation formation to the northern continent, huh? That's not bad. The people there can do well visiting the other continent too. Ning said. I wonder what the two brothers would do if the answer to their problems were to, say, mysteriously fall on their lap. Ely chuckled a little and said, wouldn't it be better if you used that information to make one for the Galra Empire? I'm sure Nilo would be quite happy. Nilo? He's still the emperor? Ning asked in surprise. No, he gave up the throne to his son a few centuries ago after reigning for nearly 700 years. Knowledge of alchemy helped him a lot during those times, so I'm sure he would be quite flabbergasted to a certain teacher that helped him during his young years, Eleonora said. It's been so long that I missed his coronation as well as retirement, huh? Well, I guess I can go meet him. As for the formation, let's talk with the folks over in the northern continent before we make any decisions of our own. Is that okay? Ning asked. Yeah, that sounds good to me, Ely said. Great. Let me ask my beasts if they want to go to the northern continent. They were all born there, so they should be quite thrilled, honestly, Ning said. Just as he said that, the sky dimmed as night arrived right next to Ning. After that, Blue arrived and finally, Aegis came back as well. They all went back into the beast space for a moment, and Ning brought his hand forward. Let's go, he asked. Ely smiled and held his hands, then, they disappeared. Ning taught a class full of now familiar students. It had been a few days since he returned from his few months-long adventure and was getting back to teaching. Yola had learned about Ning, but chose to keep it on the low for now. However, she did one thing that confused Ning a little. She took away all of his gold stars. So now, he had no stars and would have to start back again. Her thought process was that since it had been so long since he left closed cultivation, he should have forgotten most of the stuff. If he remembered it, then he could surely get his badge back. Ning happily handed his badges as they would be nothing more than eye magnet for him, which he didn't want. Beside, being a badgeless teacher had a few perks of its own. Ning finished teaching his class of merely 40 students and left. He walked to the artifact wing and met up with Ely. During the last few months, the two of them had been together for essentially always, and had since then grown together. However, Ning never made any advances into elevating their relation to anything other than friends. He felt sad even thinking about being together with someone who would surely die. Even with his body cultivation, Ely would die in less than 2,000 more years. So, Ning just decided to keep the feelings to himself forever. He didn't want to be heartbroken about it, ever. Ely seemed to have realized something about this by now, but chose to say nothing about it. Ning was very thankful about that. Ning had just met up with Ely when he realized that many teachers and students were rushing somewhere. What's happening? Ning asked. I think, they said that the Saint Alchemist has shown up, Ely said. Oh, that guy isn't dead yet? Ning asked. He might have eaten a pill or something, Ely said. Maybe, Ning said. But those sort of pills are usually bad for you. It hampers your advances in cultivation. Although, I guess that doesn't really matter to people on this planet. The two of them walked front and saw the crowd circle around a few people. Most of them were either staffs or teachers from the alchemy wing. They were all bowing to an elderly-looking man who seemed to be at the end of his age. It's a pleasure of this sect to have you, senior, Yola said. You don't have to show such a response to a dying, old man, the Saint Alchemist said. I have come with a request. Yola's eyes shined. A request from someone who could make 10th grade pills was a big thing. Please, tell us your request, senior, she said. When is your next alchemy competition? The old man asked. In just a year, we will have our decennial competition that will take place in the Sun Empire. Students from all the 5 empires will gather there. Alchemy will be a part of that competition too, Yola said. Make the alchemy portion of the competition big. In fact, I'm planning on calling the people from the southern continent as well as the northern continent too, the old man said. What? Senior, a competition between students of the 3 continents. That's why go that far? Yola asked. I'm dying, and I'm in need for someone to succeed me. In all of my years, I never took on a disciple. I focused on my work more than anything. Now that life had caught up to me, and I'm dying, I'm starting to realize just how pointless it all was. However, even as pointless it is all to me, I'm sure my knowledge can help others. So, I'm trying to find the best person to succeed me. For that, I decided to choose the best alchemy student from the next competition, the old man said. Gasps rang around and the crowd was stunned. Yola immediately agreed with zero hesitation and got to work. Soon, information hit the street at an extremely fast pace. It was not just people from the Galra Empire that knew the information, or even the central continent. The information traveled around the whole world, and every single one of them learned the same thing, then same information. The Saint Alchemist, one of the only known alchemists to ever create a 10th grade pill, was now looking to pass his entire inheritance to one single student. And that was very tempting. Soon, the whole world was in a fire of ambition as everyone made their way to the teleportation formations. I can't believe that old man is dying too. We really lived a long time, didn't we? Ely asked. Yes, we did, Ning said. Although, it's just a beginning for me, he thought. Well, at least you got the formations working in time. Now the people from the northern continent can join the competition as well, Ely said. Haha, yeah, Ning said. What's wrong? You aren't talking as much, Ely asked. I'm just thinking about stuff, Ning said. Like? Ely inquired. Like how I can help you all. Haisi is getting old. Although he can live for a while longer, his prime age for cultivation is already coming to a close. If I delay even much longer, it will be Anya's turn next, he said. Sigh, I could help you by finding the origin, or whatever it is called, but I can't seem to find that either. I hope I get some information about it all soon, Ning prayed. I'm sure you will, Ely said as she held his hand. Even if you can't, you don't have to feel guilty about it. You already gave us all something the others in this planet could only wish for. That alone is priceless. My father wouldn't be alive right now if it weren't for you. My brother and his family wouldn't be as happy or successful without you either. I'm sure Hiesi's and Anya's life is the same, Ely said. We are all thankful for what you've done. So, don't feel guilty about it at all. Even if life catches up to us, and we die of old age, that just means our regular cycle ended. Remember, we will all return to the reincarnation cycle at the end of the day. Even if we die, you will surely be there to find us again. Teacher Ning, are you coming too? Rhea asked. Halfway through, I guess. I'm going somewhere else though, Ning said as he showed up to the gathering of the students in the fields behind the academy. A year had gone by, and it was time for the decennial competition. The students were all happy and excited to be going on this small adventure. Not only that, the alchemy students were particularly jumpy due to what was at stake in this decennial competition. Wow, so many people, Ning said as he looked around. Why are you here? I thought you said you weren't coming, Ely asked from the side. That was just because Anya said she wouldn't be coming, so I didn't really care about it. But then I recently remembered something I heard a long time ago and thought that it would be a good time to visit that place, Ning said. Oh, okay. Will you be flying with the alchemy wing? I have to take care of the artifact wing students, Ely said. Nah, the students don't really know me. I'm sure the old man will hog all of their attention. So, I will fly with you. Besides, I want to see how that artifact came out, Ning said a little too excitedly. You really do get childish when you remember about Earth, don't you? Ely said with a chuckle. What's wrong with that? Ning asked. Yola brought out a massive ship that Ely had made for them and all the students started boarding it. A few of the teachers remained behind who took out their own boats. Ely brought out her own too. This boat was very weird. It was nothing but a 1 by 2 meter block of metal that was about 20 centimeters thick. The only thing separating it from a normal block of metal was the numerous holes in it. The metal boat started floating in midair and both Ely and Ning got on it. The boat suddenly started releasing steam that stuck around them. The steam then condensed and gathered around the boat like mist. Yola's boat flew off, and so did everyone. Ely moved her boat as well, as soon she was leaving behind a trail of mist as she flew. Ning looked around him and sighed. So, my blueprints failed, huh? He said. I told you. We should use leather instead of metal, Ely said. You should leave coming up with ideas to me. She looked at him and said, hey, be cheerful. Even if it doesn't feel like one, it sure looks it. Ning saw the students looking at him in awe. More accurately, they were looking at the flying cloud he was riding on. Haha, it does indeed look like it, doesn't it? Ning got a little happy. The group of them flew over the vast forest behind the academy towards the Sun Empire. It would take the lot of them about 5 days to reach the bright red academy that was located towards the eastern portion of the continent. Stronger teachers got cautious and started looking out for beast attacks from down below. The forest surrounding the Sun Empire was massive and lasted for tens of thousands of kilometers. They didn't have to worry, however. Ning already had Night fly down below lookout for such attacks. Night was roaming around checking for dangers before they actually arrived. So, the lot of them had nothing to do but wait. Ning conversed with Ely about the different things and told her where he was going. Ely didn't really show any reaction as Ning himself wasn't expecting to find anything there. He was in fact worried he was going there for nothing. "Why didn't you teleport there?" Ely asked. What's the hurry? Besides, I'm getting to spend some time with you by staying here," Ning said. Ely chuckled. Days turned into night, and night turned into day again. The cycle repeated for one more time before the day started to turn into the night again. They had safely left the forest and were now fully in the desert. "Oh," Ning said when he saw a mountain range in the desert. He looked around for a bit and shook his head. "It seems we are a little off course from where I need to go, so I will leave now. I will come to see you later," Ning said. "All right, bye. Good luck on whatever you may find there," Ely said. Ning smiled and stood. Then lightly jumped from the flying cloudboat and the wind pushed him back so that he stayed where he was in midair. He waved his hands and said his goodbye. He waited for a bit so that the group of people flew off into the horizon where they could no longer make him out. "Get in," Ning said as Night finally came out of the shadows too. "All right, let's go." Ning teleported from where he stood and appeared on top of a massive lake. He was really high in the air, so the people down below didn't notice him at all. "Okay. So the map doesn't tell me about the buildings. I will have to find those on my own," Ning thought and flew down to the top of a dune and started walking down. There was a small city where normal people lived. When they saw Ning, they acted with a sense of apprehension. Ning smiled and didn't bother with the people. "I guess they're the same as Hai and the others. They rarely see white-skinned people, so they are a little scared," Ning thought. However, these people seemed more used to different people, so they didn't come to attack him. The small town was built with mostly bricks and cement. It seemed that with the sands in the desert the people here didn't need to worry about housing. The people were either fully clothed from top to bottom hiding every part of their skin from the sun, or mostly naked since coldness wasn't a problem here. Ning walked up to one of such men and asked, "Hello, I am looking for a tomb around here. Do you happen to know where it is?" Ning stood in front of a giant row of white, marble pillars leading into a giant door. This was the place that the resident showed him when he asked for the tomb. So, this is the tomb? He wondered. He was currently in a place known as the Grime Oasis. He didn't know why it was named that, nor did he care about it. The only thing he cared about was this one tomb. Ning looked at the opening to the tomb and was both confused and surprised. These new emotions of his had nothing to do with the tomb itself, however. It had everything to do with the people that were entering and exiting the tomb. It's a tourist spot now, Ning thought. He didn't remember Kang talking about this when he spoke about the shadow god Buttery. He found a shadow god butterfly here, so there must be something unique about this place, Ning thought. But it's nearly 2 millennia since Kang was here, and now it's turned to a tourist spot. Is there really a way that the uniqueness of this place from that time was still preserved? Ning wondered. Still, he decided to go in. He looked around the perfectly built walls, the drawings upon them. Every single thing he saw around here looked new. Did someone draw these all after the fact when someone realized they could get rich from turning this into a tourist spot? Ning wondered. He walked around the tomb looking for something, but he couldn't find anything special about it. He visited the room that was at the center of the tomb and looked around. He saw some broken pieces of stones that seemed to have been kept there after the fact. Ning then noticed the sunlight entering the room. He looked up and saw that there was a circular glass on top with a weirdly patterned metal cage around it. That's strange, he thought. Hello, sir. Have you seen around the tomb? Do you need any help? A black-skinned woman walked up to him and asked. Sure. Can you tell me why that is there? Ning asked, pointing at the metal bar up above. Oh, it's always been there, sir. Same as these walls and these floors, the woman said, showing the weird-looking patterns on the ground as well. Is there any meaning to this? Ning asked. I'm afraid not, sir. It's just decoration, the lady said. Tell me more about this tomb. Who is it for? How long had it been here? Since when was the tomb available for public viewing? Ning asked. Oh, we believe the tomb to belong to a rich merchant who wanted to create a place for his dying wife to remain here eternally. At least, that is what the story on those walls says. We can only interpret as much as the coffin where the body was buried in was long stolen away. All we have left is this empty room with a broken coffin where the corpse should have been, the woman said. Ning looked around and could clearly tell how bullshit the story was. Since when was this tomb available to the public? Ning asked. This tomb was secretly visited by many before, but it was truly public when our chief decided to make the tomb into a tourist attraction 300 years ago. We don't have much to show in the Grime Oasis, aside from this. Given that our oasis is quite dirty, we have to use this, the woman said. Oh, so it wasn't visited by people before that, huh? Ning said. Yes, the woman replied. By the way, I have another question. Have you heard of any news of anyone finding butterflies around here? Ning asked. Butterflies? No, I don't think so. There has been news of people finding weird beasts in the area that should not be in the desert, but no butterfly, the lady said. Ning fell into contemplation. Sir, if you don't need me, I will attend to the other guests, the woman said. Yes, please go, Ning said. The woman smiled brightly through the sunlight that fell on her through the ceiling and left. Just as the woman left, the sunlight fell down on the floor once more. However, it had slightly shifted away from him this time. Ning suddenly got curious. He looked up to see the pattern of the metal rail on the ceiling, and then the floor. Things started clicking in his mind. Could it be? He thought. Everyone, leave! Ning shouted out loud without prior notice. The people were surprised to see someone shout in the tomb for no reason but quickly ignored him. Ning looked at the sunlight and realized that he was running out of time for today. I said everyone get out, Ning shouted once more. Oi, who the fuck do you think you are to show? Ning released his entire cultivation base, suffocating all the people inside the room. Not a single one of them had ever before felt this strong of an aura. Leave, Ning said calmly this time and took back his aura. Without a single moment wasted, the people ran out in droves in fear of the madman. Once everyone was gone, Ning picked up the fake coffin and threw it out of the room. Now, the room really, truly didn't have anything. Ning just stayed where he was and looked at the shape of the light, and the shape of the ground started being the same. Ning took out a single gold coin from his storage and tossed it. The coin flew through the air and landed on the center of the room where all the patterns converged, which was previously hidden by the fake coffin. When the sun reached the zenith and the shapes finally properly overlapped each other, blue light started shining out from the shadows. So devious, Ning thought when he saw it all. Just what could the tomb's owner be hiding by making the only key to the riches be a formation made using the shadows and patterns on a marble? Over the 2,000 years, Ning had never bothered learning how to make formations or the formation flags. Creating a formation was never something he thought he required. However, he did learn deconstruction of formations. He learned how to stop a formation, dismantle it, or if required, destroy it. So, when he saw the shadows about to overlap and form a perfect formation on the pattern below, he quickly tossed a gold coin in it to open it. Once the formation was filled, it lit up and opened what looked like a portal to a secret realm. Ning stepped forward and disappeared. He felt a slight tug on his body as if he was being pulled down instead of teleporting. Interesting, he thought as he let his body free fall. It took him what felt like 3 minutes to finally reach the bottom with a bang. He only had to bend his knees slightly to absorb all of the force of the impact, however. So, what's happening here? He thought and started looking around. He was in a dark cave, but he could clearly see the carvings on the rocks. That doesn't look like it was made by a human, Ning thought as he stared at the deep lines on the wall. They were about 40 centimeters deep, 15 centimeters wide, and about half a meter in between each of the carvings on the wall. What sort of tool did the maker of this tomb use to make these? Ning wondered and walked forward. The marks ran all along the wall until it reached a massive open space in the cave. When Ning finally walked into the open room, he was stunned. In front of him were hundreds of statues all over the room, and all of these statues were looking towards a single thing in the middle of the room, a giant coffin. Ning looked at the statues in more shock than he ever had when he realized just what he was looking at. That's a water drake, and that's a wildfire phoenix, that's a light rock, and that's a black-horned Qilin. That's a dark emperor crow, and the golden-shelled beetle statue is here too. Ning looked around as he started recognizing all the beasts that were in the room. A white puma descended from the white tiger. A green turtle descended from the legendary black turtle. A seven-tailed fox descended from the nine-tailed fox. A snake descended from the hornless dragons called Kai. A fire-breathing dog descended from Hudu. Every single descendant of the legendary creatures was here. Ning looked in shock at the statues. Just who carved these statues? How did they know what the extinct beasts looked like? Who the hell made this tomb? Ning thought. Finally, he reached the main question that started bugging him more and more as he thought about it. Who was in that coffin? He thought. Since the answer wasn't going to come up to him, he walked forward. He gently touched the statues as he walked forward. He checked to see how well made they were and what they were made of. Ning suddenly stopped when he felt a few of them. He looked at the dirt on his hands and thought, that's just normal dust. Were these incredible statues really made with something so ordinary? He checked a few more and realized that the material that was on the statue was the same one as the one in the cave. Going so far as to create a tomb, then sealing it away, and then making a fake tomb on top of it. How did the person who made such an incredible tomb not find a single better material for the statues? I'm sure the sculptors themselves would go out of their way to ask for better materials. So weird, he thought. Finally, he left the statue and walked towards the coffin itself. He was a little surprised when he saw the coffin, however. Is this where he spent all the money? Ning wondered. Even a small piece of primordial holy jade would cost anyone 5 generations of fortune. I'm surprised the person was even able to afford one, let alone such a large piece of it. Primordial holy jade was a very strong and resilient piece of jade, far stronger than the small marble Ning had made years ago. Ning remembered reading that the primordial holy jade could also block all forms of chi, aura, and even divine sense. Ning sent in his divine sense up to the slab of jade and was pleasantly surprised to see that his divine sense didn't enter there at all. So it is true. It's very heavy too, isn't it? Ning thought and touched the cool, but the dusty surface of the jade. Let's see what's inside, Ning thought and tried to push it from the side of the slab. Just as he was about to push it, a divine sense entered his mind. You do not belong here, human. Something spoke into his mind. Ning immediately turned towards the direction of the voice but saw no one. Who's there? Ning asked, trying to see if they were hiding behind the statues. Go away, a voice entered his mind. Ning turned around again. This time the sound was coming from the opposite direction, and the voice felt very different too. Do not open it, another voice made Ning turn to the right. He still couldn't see anything, but by now he had a sinking suspicion on what could be happening. Immediately, he spread out his divine sense, but he didn't stop at that. Instead, he started sending those divine senses into the statues themselves to check if his suspicions were true. How dare you? Many divine senses bombarded him at the same time, but none of them could make Ning falter at all. Hey, so that's what it is, huh? Ning said as he looked around him. The statues he believed to be just statues were in fact beasts that seemed to have been plastered from outside to make a statue. I'm surprised so many of your kind are still alive. Human, do you know who we are? This is disrespect. The humans have gotten arrogant. Let's give him a lesson. Auras emanated from the surrounding statues as they started crashing down on Ning to punish him for his insolence. Ning's knees caved in a little when the aura of so many beasts in the 9th nascent soul realm fell upon him at once. However, that was only because Ning was caught off guard. Once he realized what was happening, he slowly stood back up straight and contested the many beasts' push. You can go on as long as you like. I can do this all day long, Ning said. Although, given how much you must have sacrificed to live for so long, are you sure you want to fight me right now? The aura disappeared as soon as it came. Who are you, human? The humans alive in our time were in no way this strong. Are all humans like you now? One of the beasts said. No, I am an exception for sure, Ning said. I see. Then would you say who is the strongest in your world right now? The beasts asked. I'm not really sure, but I should be considered one of the strongest ones now, Ning said. Is that so? One of the beasts said. The world is not ready yet. They need more time. We don't have more time. We must endure. For our children. Yes, for our children. The beasts suddenly started talking amongst themselves and Ning just stood there listening to everything. What do we do now? Send the human back. Should I ask him if he's seen my descendant? Everyone, don't forget to focus. You're getting distracted. Yes. Brother Drake, please tell the human to leave. Ning listened to the beasts continue speaking. He was curious as to what exactly they were talking about. What's going on? Ning asked. Nothing, you should go back that way and fly out of here while you have the time, human. The seal doesn't stop you from leaving out, the drake spoke. Okay. What was that about the world not being ready though? What is the world not ready for? Ning asked. Huh? Where did you hear that? The drake asked in surprise. What do you mean? That silver-horned deer just spoke. Oh, right. I forgot I can easily understand the beasts. So, I sometimes forget that you are speaking a different language altogether, Ning said. You can understand our language, human? The beasts asked in surprise. Yes, Ning said. So, do you mind telling me what is happening in here? That's not something we can reveal, the beast said. Okay. Then tell me how you are alive. I remember learning that you were all killed by this one beast that came out of nowhere with the power of many legendary beasts. Was that false? Ning asked. The beasts went silent for a few moments after hearing Ning's questions. Finally, one of the beasts asked, Where did you hear about this? I have a beast of my own with some knowledge about it, Ning said and called out Aegis, Night, and Blue. The three of them looked around and were surprised that nothing was there. They were fully expecting to fight someone right now. Why is one of my brethren out there? The golden-shelled beetle statue suddenly spoke. Aegis looked to the statue that just spoke and was even more confused. Master, that thing you spoke, he said. Junior, don't call me a thing. I am your ancestor, the golden-shelled beetle statue said. Also, did you just call him master? Yes, he is my master, Aegis said. Insolence, the beetle statue cried out. How dare you enslave my kind? Hey, don't speak about my master like that. Aegis's aura exploded when he got angry. His peak nascent soul realm cultivation base exploded. My child, are you brainwashed? The beetle statue asked. Brother Beetle, I don't think that is the case, one of the other beasts spoke. He seems to genuinely care about the human. So do they all, another beast spoke. A flood dragon, but you have the bloodline of the true dragons. How is that possible? Your aura is stronger than mine. Has the world healed? The drake asked. Blue looked around, not answering anything immediately. You. The Dark Emperor Crow cried out when it saw Night. How is that possible? How do you carry that bloodline? It should have gone extinct long before me? What are you talking about? Ning asked. Can you not see it, human? That kin of mine has the bloodline of our ancestors, the Dark Emperor Crow statue spoke. Oh, yeah. I knew that. Is that so surprising? I thought you all had it, Ning asked. We do. But the amount in him is way too high, the statue spoke. But how? Are our ancestors back? Has the world truly healed again? You guys keep saying that. What do you mean by that exactly? Was there something that happened in this world that wounded it? Ning asked. We don't know, the beasts that. These are just memories of ours from our ancestors. All we know is that our world was wounded and that counteracted the origin. Ning's eyes suddenly went wide. The origin? What is that? I read about it somewhere. Someone wrote a book that said that the only way to break through to the spirit transformation realm is in the origin. A human did? The beasts asked. Yes, Ning said. Did he happen to be a bald man with a yellow and red cloth? The beasts asked. I don't know about what he wore. I only know the book he wrote, Ning said. His name was Nergo Vansmith. Oh, so that human lived to tell a tale, huh? That weakling actually wrote a book, haha. Who is he? Ning asked. The creator of this seal and the person in charge of creating the tomb outside, the beast said. Since the world was favoring the humans, we decided to give one a very important task. And what was the important task? Ning asked as he looked at the many statues. To seal this place, one of the beasts spoke. Right, what exactly is this place? Ning asked. It's a prison, human. A prison to hold one of the strongest evil creatures ever to exist on this planet, the drake said. Ning suddenly had an epiphany. He looked towards the coffin in the center and slowly asked, Is that the coffin of that legendary beast that was said to have killed you all? Is that where its corpse lies? Yes. No, Ning got multiple answers at once, each contradicting the other. The confusing mess resulted in Ning learning nothing. Can you guys just let Brother Drake talk, please? All of you talking at once is hard to understand, Ning said. I alone shall speak then, human, the Drake's statue said. That coffin is in fact keeping Jaim, but it's not his corpse that lies in there. Then what? Ning asked. He wondered if it was perhaps just a nascent soul that managed to barely escape away. No, Jaim was never defeated. He's still alive, the Drake said. He's sealed inside that coffin right now. What? You guys didn't defeat him at all? Ning asked in surprise. From what he remembered, Knight's memories never had anything aside from the fact that the war favored the lone beast with the bloodline of many. He remembered there being no end to the story, but because the world was safe and every information about that beast was gone, he had naturally assumed that it was killed. So it never died? Ning asked. How did you guys manage to seal it? I heard its cultivation base was close to, if not in the spirit transformation realm. No, it was definitely in the spirit transformation realm. The Jaim had found his way to the origin that many were struggling to find and cultivated there for a while and entered the spirit transformation realm, the Drake said. Sorry for changing the topic right now, but what is this origin? I keep hearing it, but there is no information about it at all, Ning said. Origin, as we call it, is the place of origin for all chi on the planet. It's the one location where chi is created, the Drake said. Due to it being the origin, it has much higher chi concentration than any other location. I had a suspicion. It's good to know that for sure though. Do you know where it is? Ning asked. No, the ones that learned that Jaim was cultivating in the origin were killed before they could relay us the information of its whereabouts. However, we are sure that it was in the ocean for sure, the Drake said. I see, Ning said. Getting back on topic, how was he sealed exactly? Did you guys manage to overpower him in any way? Yes, the Drake said. It's a little underhanded, but we found him alone when he was breaking through and brought him here before sealing him. You didn't kill him when you had the chance? Ning asked. That was impossible. His body is stronger than anything we've seen before. It would have been impossible to kill him. We saw no other choice at that time, and we bet it all on the humans that were favored by the planet and came here with all of our people to seal Jaim, the Drake said. What do you mean by the humans are favored by the planet? Can you explain? Ning asked. I'm not sure how much of this is true since it's something I've learned from my memories, our memories, but it says that the planet has a will too. All of them do. It's an amount not enough to call the planet conscious, but there is definitely some form of cosmic will that a planet has. Most planets that don't want life on them do whatever they can to stay barren and unpopulated. Those that do are the ones that want life. And of that, the planets also start biasing over which life they like more. Our planet previously preferred to have every beast among them. But slowly, once the humans emerge, the planet's preferences change. It started favoring the humans, and slowly the beasts got weaker. The wound on the planet didn't help either. Soon, humans were starting to get as strong as beasts, the Drake said. Wait, humans were that strong during the age of beasts too? Ning asked. Yes. They were little in amount, but due to the planet's favor, the humans were getting stronger and stronger, the Drake said. And yet, it was Jaim that nearly destroyed you all, huh? Ning asked. I don't believe that is by any coincidence either, the Drake said. Ning was confused now. Sorry, what do you mean? He asked. It was not a coincidence that Jaim was so strong, the Drake said. After all, he was a humanoid beast too. What? Ning was surprised. That beast was humanoid. It would be incorrect to call Jaim a beast. He was many, but he was none. Jaim was in fact a half-beast, half-human, born to a low-leveled beast after a human copulated with it. From a young age, Jaim was said to walk on two legs. Being half of both, he was ostracized from both the beasts and the humans. That was what we believe to be the reason he went to war against the world, the Drake said. The new information he was getting made Ning more and more surprised. The beasts he thought were extinct were alive. Jaim was alive. The origin was revealed to him. He learned that the planet had a pseudo-will, and now he was learning that Jaim was in fact born between a man and a beast. Wait. Ning paused for a moment. Something doesn't make sense here. What doesn't? The Drake asked. Wasn't Jaim born with the blood of many legendary beasts? But you said he was born to a lowly beast, Ning asked. Ah, right. No, Jaim was not born with the blood of the legendary beasts. However, he did have the blood of the legendary beasts. All thanks to his powers, the Drake said. His powers? Ning asked. Yes. Jaim had the power to devour blood of his enemies and integrate their bloodline onto himself. The power to devour blood and gain their bloodline? That doesn't sound like a normal ability someone should have, Ning said. Yes. We believe he was born with a heavenly constitution, one that allowed him to do all of that. After all, no ordinary beast should be able to reach the peak of nascent soul realm in mere 2 centuries, the Drake said. Still, it's been over 10,000 years. Are you sure he's still alive? Ning asked. We are alive, aren't we? We're sure he's alive too. We can feel him pushing on our powers to undo the seal. Each day, he grows stronger and stronger. Even when we sealed him the furthest away we could from the origin, and even siphoned away most of the chi, his power still grows. It worries me that soon, we won't be able to stop him at all, the Drake said. You siphoned the chi away? Ning asked in confusion. Yes, we sealed him in the middle of this forest and also made a formation to take away the surrounding chi to somewhere, the Drake said. You must have felt the lack of chi in the forest above, right? There is no forest outside. It's all a desert now, Ning said. Desert? No, it's a forest, young man. You seem to have been mistaken, the Drake said. No, it's a desert. It has been as such for the last thousands of years. It's a desert that spans thousands of kilometers and is surrounded by a massive jungle, Ning said. You aren't lying, are you? The Drake asked. No, that's the truth, Ning said. The Drake went quiet for a few moments. Then, another beast spoke from the side. Did we destroy our own home? Is our home truly gone? Where do we return to now? Where do our children return to? No wonder the planet stopped favoring us. We are someone that would eventually destroy our own home. The beasts started lamenting the fact that there was no longer a forest above where they were. The forest used to be their home. The majority of the central continent used to be their home. Is it because you guys took away the chi that this desert came to be? Is that why a desert has such high mountain peaks? Because it wasn't originally a desert? Ning asked. The beasts stayed quiet for some time longer. Finally, the Drake spoke again. It seems in our pursuit to quickly take care of Jaim, we forgot to understand what adverse effects we might have been leaving behind in this world. O ancestors, forgive us. Your descendants have destroyed that which you loved, the Drake cried out. Forgive us. Every other beast cried out as well. Ning stood there as the beasts started lamenting and asking for forgiveness. He had never been in such a situation, but he wondered how it must have felt for the beasts. He was a little saddened by such thoughts but quickly stopped him from getting any more emotional. So, where is the chi going? I hope you've put it to good use, Ning asked. Yes, we've done the best we could with what little time we had. We knew we couldn't leave our children outside, so we brought them with us. So, we had to make a small place for our children to live in, the Drake said. Human, do you have malice in your heart? A beast spoke from the back. The beast was a heart-scouring cyclops. It looked like a single ball of an eye floating with 2 massive wings on its back, and a single tail floating down behind it. I don't harm those that don't harm me, not anymore, Ning said. The beasts remained quiet for the cyclops to speak. He's good to go, the cyclops said. Great, human, go beyond those doors. You can meet our children. The chi there is quite high compared to other places too. However, in return we hope that you can do something for us, the Drake said. What do you want? Ning asked. I will tell you when you return, the Drake said. Ning got a little suspicious and didn't move. Can you not tell me what you want? I can't make promises on things I do not know about, Ning said. Don't worry, it's not something you should worry about. Just go and come back. We can talk about it later, the Drake said. Ning got even more suspicious now. I'm not leaving until you've told me what it is I am going to do. It feels like you are going to guilt trip me into accepting whatever you are going to make me do by letting me go in there, Ning said. Alright fine, the Drake gave up. We wanted you to bring our children back to us. Every once in a while, a child of ours gets curious about the outside world, and despite our caution, they leave to the outside world. Since the leaving aspect of the seal is non-existent above, they easily get out of this tomb. I do not know what dangers there are above. The world is overrun by humans now as that is the will of this planet. We are worried that our children might have come across dangers that they were not ready to face at all. Or even those that wanted to return couldn't find a way to do so because of the way the seal was created. So, we all wanted to ask you to help those lost children reunite with us. That is all we wanted you to promise, the Drake said. The other beasts didn't make a single sound either, but Ning could tell they were very expectant. Very well. I don't know if many could have remained alive because of how small their lifespan would be. But, I will try to get as many of them as possible. I promise you that, Ning said. Thank you, human. That is all we wanted. If you wish to, you can go visit our children outside of those doors now, the Drake said. Okay. I will see you guys later then, Ning said and walked towards the door to see what lied beyond. Ning stood in front of the nearly 20 meters tall stone door and pushed it open only to realize that it was just an illusion. The door was in fact a portal that teleported him the moment he walked in. Along with him, Aegis, Blue, and Night also walked into the portal and got teleported. When they reappeared, they were still inside a cave, but just a little ahead of them, they could see the path lead to a way outside. Ning walked forward with the three beasts and went out of the cave. The moment they reached outside, they were welcomed by some bright light. When the bright light finally went away, Ning could see a massive jungle down below with hundreds of birds of different colors flying in the sky. The four of them were on top of a mountain, looking down at the beautiful green scenery down below. Whoa! Look at that! That looks amazing, Ning said as he looked at the unending forest with beasts running about everywhere. The chi here is also very concentrated. It's about the same, if not higher than that one beast island up, Ning said. What do you guys think? It really is amazing, Master, Aegis said. I can see my brethren, Blue said as he saw many flood dragons far away in the distance. The Knight, however, remained quiet, not answering anything. Suddenly, two beasts flew up through the air and arrived in front of Ning. Once they reached close to him, they sent out divine sense towards all four of them. Ning didn't mind and let them check him as much as they wanted. The two beasts, one a seven-tailed fox, and another a mind-flaying moth, were both surprised when they saw their cultivation base and started getting cautious. Seniors, who might you be? The fox asked cautiously. Suddenly seeing four different strong individuals arrive had them scared. Soon, more and more beasts started appearing around them as they seemed to have noticed something was happening. Most beasts here had been born inside this secret realm, so they didn't even know what a human looked like. The newer generation curiously checked out Ning, while the older generation nervously stood around waiting for Ning and the others to answer. Don't be scared, we aren't bad company. I found the seal to back there accidentally, and your ancestors told me to come here to see you guys, Ning said. The ancestors allowed you inside? The beasts asked. Yes, Ning said. Why would they do that? The beasts asked amongst themselves. They saw no reason why their ancestors would ever send someone so strong to them. Well, they probably wanted to guilt-trip me into helping them. They didn't know whether I would help them out otherwise or not, Ning said. So, your purpose of the visit is, nothing? They asked. Pretty much. I guess I will just look around and leave, Ning said. The beasts were still quite cautious and didn't immediately accept the answer. Suddenly, Ning fully unleashed his cultivation base, drowning the entire group of beasts in his incredibly strong aura. The beasts could barely use their cultivation base to not get crushed. Then the aura disappeared. It disappeared as quickly as it appeared. The beasts got back up and immediately put up a fighting stance. Can you guys defeat me if I were to fight you? Ning asked. The beasts looked around at themselves, trying to look for a positive answer to that question. Unfortunately, there was none. No, right? Ning asked. The beasts couldn't help but nod in agreement. Then you guys should stop being too untrusting of me. If I wanted to come here for any malicious reasons, I wouldn't have to fake an act in front of you guys, Ning said. The beasts looked at themselves. I guess, that's true, the seven-tailed fox said. We're sorry for showing such a disrespectful side of us, Senior, but we could never be too careful. I hope you can forgive us, Senior. It's all right. Let's go and see what your little realm is like. I'm really curious what the ruler of the past made of their final gift to their children, Ning said. Yes, please come, Senior. The beasts started taking them down below. Ning nodded and flew down. Night, Aegis, and Blue followed him and flew downward too. The beasts kept on looking at Ning as if he was something they had never seen before. Ning chuckled a little since that was true. They also kept on staring at his beasts, especially at their aura. Aegis was normal. He was strong and had a very high cultivation base, but he inherently wasn't any different from the other beasts here. However, Night and Blue were different. Their unusually domineering aura kept attracting the gazes of the many beasts. The three of them too felt quite weird about the entire situation. Aegis was surrounded by a few of the golden-shelled beetles as well as the other beasts and was talking about them. Blue had started acting all high and mighty in front of the many beasts that were surprised by his aura that included the aura of his true dragon's bloodline. That was especially effective at pulling in the gazes of the beasts with dragon bloodlines in them. As for Knight, he tried to remain by himself but was also getting surrounded by other beasts. They were asking him about the unique bloodline he had, but unfortunately for them, Knight still had no clue he even had something unique. The powers he had were something he instinctively knew to use since he was born. It was only now that he met with the other Dark Emperor crows that he finally learned that was not the case. Ning looked at the three of them and started getting a bitter feeling in his heart regarding the fact that the three of them had been stuck with him for so many years, unable to live a life of their own. He was starting to feel very guilty about it. The secret realm lasted for hundreds of kilometers. After a certain while, the forest would end, and a sea would start where the other aquatic beasts would live. Ning visited all of that and was shocked that such a secret realm was actually created by the beasts. It's hard to believe that the beasts the world thought had gone extinct were actually just chilling here, Ning said. Yes, our ancestors thought that we couldn't survive on our own in the changing world, so they made this for us. I don't know how much of that is true though, one of the beasts said. Ning looked around and said, they're certainly correct. There are many people that are way stronger than you that would love to enslave you out there. Just look at me. In my attempt to get stronger, I got the three of them too. Fortunately, I haven't done anything wrong to them, but not everyone is like that. That's why your ancestors are worried. The world was changing, and they had enough foresight to see what could have happened if they left you guys out, Ning said. I see, the beasts said. They started talking amongst themselves regarding how bad the situation was out there. Senior, does that mean we will have to worry about our child? The beasts asked. My son left this place a few years ago? Is he okay? My child left not so long ago too. I hope to see him soon. Greyback Bee's child left this place too quite a few years ago. Oh no, if the world is so bad, will our children still be okay? Ning looked at the beasts that started getting worried and panicked. No, don't think like that, Ning said. While it is true that not everyone outside is good, it's not like there are bad people either. Just because someone tames your children doesn't mean they will do horrible things to them. There are quite a few of them that treat their tamed beasts like their brothers and sisters, and would die for them. Or, maybe your children were smart enough to avoid the humans too. After all, your ancestors out there will tell them what's wrong and what's right before they get to leave. So, stop worrying about it all. Besides, I'm going to get as many back as I can, Ning said. Finally, the beasts started getting relieved and stopped worrying about their children so much. Ning stopped talking as well, as he thought that saying anything anymore would only lead to more worrying from the beasts. The beasts asked him some more questions about the outside world, and Ning answered as much as he could. In just a few hours of being in this realm, he had explained to them everything about the outside world. The competition must be starting soon. I should leave now, Ning thought and looked around to call back his three beasts. But then he stopped. He saw Aegis with his own people talking like they were friends. Aegis was very much having fun in a place where Ning didn't believe he could have fun. As shy as he was around others, he seemed to have lost that around his own people. Ning smiled when he saw that. It was finally like Aegis was starting to live his life for himself. He then saw Blue out there showing off his great achievements and how he would soon become the strongest being on the whole planet. Ning chuckled when he saw that. Blue really loved being respected, and thankfully he wasn't annoying. The other beasts seemed to love him very much immediately too. Knight, who loved staying alone and in silence, was also opening up to the other beasts who constantly asked him questions. He got flustered when a female Dark Emperor crow started getting closer to him and nearly stuttered when he spoke. A warm feeling emerged inside Ning. Finally, they're somewhere where they can belong, Ning thought. A conflicting feeling started brewing up in his heart. He wanted to take them away now that he was leaving, but that felt really wrong for them. However, he also wanted to let them stay, but if he did that, then all the work he had put into getting them to become stronger would be wasted for him. Although, it wouldn't be wasted on them. I should let them make the decision, Ning thought and called all of them over. Yes, Master, the three of them arrived in front of him. How is this place? Do you guys like this? Ning asked. This place is amazing, Master. I really like this, Aegis said in a childlike manner. He seemed really excited about making new friends. Master, we should have come here earlier. I would have loved fighting against them when I was just getting stronger, Blue said. Although, I doubt they could have beat me even when I was weaker than I am now. After all, I have the blood of a true dragon. Ning smiled and waited for Knight to answer, but Knight chose to remain quiet. What? You don't have anything to say? Ning asked. It's fine. It's not a bad place, Knight said. Really? It's only fine? Ning asked with a scrutinizing look. Knight got flustered and said, I guess, it's better than that. I don't mind being here. I see, so you guys really like this place, huh? But unfortunately, it's time to leave, Ning said. All three of the beasts showed signs of reluctance on their face. Can't we stay a little longer, Master? Blue asked. Do you want to? Ning asked. Blue and Aegis furiously nodded. Knight looked away, not wanting to answer. Okay, since the intercontinental competition will be starting soon, I want to go there to see what sort of talents are there, Ning said. Since it's a month-long competition, it will take quite a while to end. So, you guys have a choice to make. I can leave with you three right now, and we only come back once in a while to return the lost beasts. Or, you could stay here for the next month, or maybe even more while I am out living a slow life. Ning flew back up to the cave once more. He stopped before entering and looked back to see all three of his beasts happily interacting with the rest of the beasts. If that's what they want, then who am I to say otherwise, Ning thought. Without any more consideration, he walked back into the portal in the cave. He was once more teleported and arrived outside, back in the tomb of Jaim. You're back already? The beasts were surprised. Yeah, there wasn't really anything for me to do there. I don't even really know why you sent me there, because I would have gone out to search for your descendants despite not going there, Ning said. But we didn't send you there for yourself, the Drake said. Huh? Ning was surprised. Then why else would you say, oh, I see, he said. Yeah, well, your plan worked. My beasts love the place, and I've even left them there for a month before I return. You will return back in a month? The beasts questioned. Oh yeah, I will take the information about which children of yours have left at that time too, Ning said. Oh, that's fine, but which month are you coming back on? The Drake asked. What do you mean which month? I'm coming back in a month, Ning said. Yeah, but which one? The Drake asked. How many different types of 1 month are there? I will return in 30 days, Ning said. The beasts didn't speak for a moment before one of them spoke once more. Yeah, but which one? Ning was confused now. What do you mean by which one? He asked. The beasts went silent once more. Due to most of their body being encased in stone, Ning couldn't even see their emotions. Finally, the Drake asked, did you not realize it when you came here? What didn't I realize? Ning asked. That the time moves differently here, the Drake said. Ning stopped for a second. What's that supposed to mean? Is there a time dilation in this cave? He asked. Not just this cave, but for the secret realm as well. Why else do you think we could live for thousands of years while constantly keeping Jaim in check? The Drake asked. It's because time moves slower in here, Ning asked as if he understood something. Yes, the Drake said. The time dilation is about 6 hours in the outside world for every 1 hour in here. That is why we've lived so long. We can't live for thousands upon thousands of years. For us, it's only been a little over 2,000 years. Oh wow, I didn't realize that. So the last 7 to 8 hours I've spent here in the secret realm will equate to about 2 days in the real world, huh? Ning wondered. Anyway, that means you can live for a lot more years, huh? We may live for 1,000 or so years more, but by that time, Jaim might have already left his prison. We can feel his power increasing day by day. If you can, human, please gather the best of your people to prepare for what's coming, the beast said. Okay, I shall do that, Ning said. I will come back in 6 or so days to get back information about your children that left. Until then, take care. Ning bid his farewell for now and walked back through the cave. He looked at the markings on the wall and finally realized what those were. So these are the claw marks of Jaim, huh? Ning thought as he placed his palm on top of where the marks were and saw that Jaim's claws were nearly 10 times as large as his hands. I wonder how big he is. Being a hybrid between a man and a beast, he must be really unique, Ning thought. However, in the first place, how did he even get conceived? Human and a beast, that's not biologically possible. Unless, it's because early men came from the beasts too, so it was possible back in those periods, Ning thought. He tried to stop thinking about it, but his mind kept thinking about it. Once he was ready, he flew up. Soon he came upon the ceiling of the cave, but he didn't stop. Instead, he slammed through the ceiling. However, he didn't hit anything. Instead, he was sent back out onto the tomb above the seal. It was a bit after the afternoon when he was out. Ning looked around and saw the gaze of the many people looking at him. He ignored them and looked below him. He checked for his gold coin, but someone had taken it already. I will need to make sure someone doesn't accidentally enter the seal, Ning thought and looked around to find the stone slab that was there previously and placed it back in the middle. It's him. He's the one that threatened us before, a woman shouted. Ning looked back and saw that it was the same woman who had explained to him about the fake history of this place. Many black-skinned fighters came into the tomb. Ning just shook his head and walked out of the room. The fighters ran up to try and stop him, but no matter what they did, they couldn't stop him. Ning casually walked outside while the fighters tried every possible ability in their arsenal to try and stop Ning. Seeing that nothing they did could stop him, they immediately switched from attacking to begging. They begged for him to forgive them and have mercy after they realized how strong he was. Ning shook his head and flew away without saying anything. The men were in fear and all the people there were concerned for their life now, but Ning didn't care. Those people had nothing to do with him. They were supposed to reach the academy 5 days later, right? Meaning I still have quite a while. Erg. They will start asking questions if I suddenly reappear on the boat. I guess I will take my time going there then. 5 days after leaving the academy, the group of folks from the 5 Professions Academy reached the location of the competition, the Scarlet Oasis. By now, the group of students was all tired of sitting down and were incredibly bored because of the monotonous journey through the central continent. After Ning left, Ely had stopped using her vehicle and moved onto the boat to look after Artifact Wing's students as well. We've arrived, Yola said to the group. The many students were suddenly energized and immediately walked up to the front and looked down at the new scenery. Ely too looked down at the massive oasis, always surprised how big it was. Can you ever call that thing an oasis? She wondered. The Scarlet Oasis was a massive oasis that spanned nearly 100 kilometers in diameter. It was more of a sea than it was an oasis. The water there was fully red and the surrounding area was also fully inhabited. No one knew why the water was red there, but they knew it was harmless and lived there without any worry. In the middle of the oasis was a massive island that was about a dozen or so kilometers wide. That was home to the Bright Red Academy. There were multiple ferries at the port that went to and from the academy, but most of the people coming here today didn't need one. Ely could see hundreds of people flying towards the academy. Given how important the next couple of weeks were going to be for these young ones, there were bound to be millions upon millions of people coming over just to watch the competition. Not all of them should be going in, Ely thought. Still, there should be hundreds of thousands of people that come in. I wonder how the folks over at the academy are going to handle these many people, Ely wondered. Look at all those disciples, Yola said from the front of the boat. It seems they've gotten the security quite strict this time. Ely looked a bit further ahead in the sky and saw a line of people blocking the others from entering. They must have some sort of requirements to enter this time. I wonder what that is, Ely thought. Let's move, Yola said and continued the boat towards the academy. The few different boats all moved towards the academy and were soon stopped by the security of the academy. Oh, the person said when they saw the group. Welcome, Principal Yola. We're glad to see that you've made it. We're sorry that our principal can't come to accompany you this time. It's just been way too hectic around here. Oh, it's okay. Has the Saint Alchemist arrived by now? Yola asked. Yes. He arrived a few days ago and has been settling fine, the person said. Oh, is Sado looking after him? She asked. No, the Saint Alchemist has gone into closed cultivation for a few days until the alchemy competition starts, the person says. Oh, and even then Tazdo isn't coming here? That's weird. He used to always come by and escort us. Is he that busy this time? Yola asked. Yeah. I believe Principal Sado is looking after some very important guests right now, the person said. Even more important than us? Yola asked jokingly. The person looked at her unable to immediately answer. However, in the end, he did speak and said, I mean no disrespect senior, but yes. Yola was surprised. The entire boat full of people was surprised as well. You're serious? Yola asked with a serious face herself. Yes, senior, the person said. How important? Yola asked. She was surprised that there was someone other than the Emperor who she learned was coming later on, or the Saint Alchemist who was in closed cultivation. The person deliberated for a bit and finally answered. Perhaps, even more important than the Saint Alchemist himself. What? Yola's eyes went wide when she heard that. All the teachers and students in the boat gave a similar reaction too. Who is it? Yola asked. I don't know, senior. They were a big group of people, and one of them was very strong. I have never seen such a high cultivation base before, the person said. Oh, were they from a different continent? Yola asked. I believe so. But they didn't say which, so we don't know for sure, the person said. I see. I will ask Sato later, Yola said. For now, let's move. We don't want to create a pause in your work. Yes, please follow me, the person said and took them with him. The disciples forgot about the giant red body of water down below them and started talking about the different people from the other continent. Ning said Anya wasn't coming, so that leaves Senior High C and his family. But they don't have anything to do with alchemy? Did they come here? Ili wondered. However, if it wasn't them, who else could be so important to the principal? Ili started wondering. She had visited the southern continent on her own for a few years, and she knew that continent didn't have that many strong people in it. The northern continent only had a handful of people that could be considered strong, and half of that was due to Ning's influence. The ones that were strong on their own didn't have anything to do with alchemy as far as Ili could remember. So, it's Senior Hiesi's group, right? Ili thought. Whatever, I will find out soon, she thought and stopped caring about it. The person from the academy took them to the island and showed them the newly built buildings. The massive deserted island was now full of buildings and stuff. You guys did this in just a year, huh? That's very impressive, Yola said. Thank you, Senior, the person said. They landed down in front of a rather large building. Please enter, Senior. This is the place you will be staying for the next 30 days. The people from 5 Professions Academy started getting settled into their place. Their place of stay for the next month was a massive, hotel-like building with many rooms in it. Whoa! The students walked in, very surprised at their new place of stay. Quickly, the teachers started selecting the rooms for the students. All right, rest for now. The competition starts tomorrow, so you won't have much free time after that, Yola said. The students nodded and all went to their rooms to rest. Most of the teachers also went to their rooms. Only Yola didn't go into her room. When she turned around, she found out that Ili hadn't returned to her room either. Teacher Ili, you're not going to rest? Yola asked. Oh, what about you, Yola? She asked. Don't you need to rest? I will soon, Yola said. All right, stop acting. I know you want to go see who is so important that Sato isn't even giving you the time to welcome you, Ili said. I can't escape the eyes of someone so old, can I? Yola said. Come, I'm curious too, Ili said, and they both the place. Just as they walked out, they saw a ship land in front of the place on the right to theirs. Oh, they're here too, Yola said in surprise. Hey, Yola. You guys got here before us. A man shouted from the top of the ship. He said something quietly to the people on the boat and jumped down. When he reached the ground, Ili could see that the man was a middle-aged person with golden hair and green robes. He looked a little familiar to her, but she couldn't understand from where. Oh, Jivan, you arrive almost at the same time as we did, Yola said. I would have thought you guys would leave earlier than us. Yeah, we were going to, but Sephir suddenly had a lot of visitors from the southern continent, so we couldn't leave in time. I would have assumed the same to be for you and the guys from Noedra, Jivan said. Sigh. Ernet might be the only empire that has a relatively normal time right now. He then turned around to Ili and quickly bowed down. Good afternoon, Teacher Eleonora. I see you are doing quite well, he said. Do I know you? Ili asked. She still couldn't quite remember where she saw her. Oh, you might have forgotten me, after all, it's been so many years. I am Jivan Heger, the current head of the Great Beginners Academy of the Sephir Empire. I used to study artifact in the 5 Professions Academy about a millennia ago, so you might not remember me at all, Jivan said. Oh, right. Now I remember. You're the kid that made the stink bomb and got expelled, aren't you? She asked. Jivan's face got a little red. I'm surprised you remember that, Teacher Eleonora. I would have expected everyone to forget about it, he said. That sort of thing is not something one easily forgets, Ili said with a light chuckle. I see you're doing quite well. You must have become the head quite recently then, didn't you? I remember the head being Taimo last time. Unfortunately, Senior Taimo passed away in closed cultivation, so I had to take his place, Jivan said with a sad face. I see, Ili said. Anyway, don't you want to go inside with your students? Why are you staying out here? Oh right, I wanted to ask. Did Tazdo come out for you guys? He didn't even come to get me. So rude, Jivan said. No, his students said that he is busy with someone really strong from another continent, Yola said. Yeah, he said the same thing to me too. I wanted to go see who is so important that he isn't leaving at all, Jivan said. We were just about to go there too. Come, let's go, Yola said and flew away. Jivan flew behind her, and Ely flew at the end. Before soon, they arrived inside the Bright Red Academy's official grounds and entered. The students there didn't dare stop the heads of 2 different academies from entering at all. Wow, these students are so lax. They just let us enter without even saying anything, Jivan said. That's quite weird really, Yola said. Soon they realized why they were so lax. A little ahead of them was a short, fat man with a half-bald head with white dress pacing outside of the door to the principal's door. Oi, friend. The hell are you doing here? Jivan asked in surprise. Oh, Principal Yola, Jivan. You guys are here too? Are you here for the same thing? The man named Fren asked. Fren didn't acknowledge Ely's existence as she was just a mere teacher in front of them. Are you not going inside? Jivan asked. I tried to, but Sado didn't let me enter, Fren said. Didn't let you enter? Yola asked confusedly. Yeah, I knocked on his door multiple times, and he came out only to tell me to wait longer. The audacity of that man. Fren got angry. I don't know how important that man with the purple robe could be. Oh, you saw who was in there? Yola asked. Oh yeah, it was some guy with a purple dress and a head full of hair. Although I only saw his back, so I don't know how he looks like, Fren said. Jivan looked at him and asked, so you don't know which continent he is? The door opened. Thank you, Senior. Your words were very enlightening to me. A hoarse voice came from inside the room. Oh, Sado's out, Jivan said softly. Oh no, it's fine. I was just saying what I learned. You would have learned it sooner or later yourself. A young voice came from inside the room. A dark-skinned, broad-faced, middle-aged man walked out with a young man in a purple robe behind them. Ely and Yola looked at the young man in surprise, and the young man noticed them as well. Oh, hey, Ely. You guys are finally here, the young man said with a smile. The mysterious person they were so curious to see was none other than Ning himself. Ely wanted to laugh out loud after seeing Ning there. The person she was so curious to find out about had turned out to be none other than him. The other 2 principals looked around in confusion, not knowing what was going on. Not even Jivan knew about Ning due to him being a very reserved figure in the alchemy wing for the last hundreds of years. Yola on the other hand didn't know what to think. She knew a little about Ning, especially the truth about him being old. But other than that, she hadn't bothered looking into much information about him. What are you doing here, Teacher Ning? Yola asked. Didn't you leave for somewhere before us? Ah, it seems your academy's people are here, Senior, Sado said when he saw Yola. He then looked at the rest and said, good to see you guys have made it here quite fast. Let me introduce you to Senior Ning. Sado then went on to introduce him to the other 2 principals as a very important figure in the entire continent. Yola couldn't understand how that was possible. Wait, I thought your disciples said you were with someone from a different continent, Jivan asked. Oh, that was just a misunderstanding. Senior Ning was actually with people from the northern continent, so I assumed they were together and told my disciples so, Sado said. Alright, you guys continue talking. It seems my academy members are here, so I will go over now, Ning said. Oh, no Senior. We can't let to stay in such a crowded place. Let us prepare a place especially for you, Sado said. Oh no, it's not necessary. I will just go stay with the other teachers. After all, I'm a teacher too, Ning said. Are you sure, Senior? We can easily prepare a place for you, Sado insisted. It's fine. I like being with other people, Ning said. Alright, I will see you tomorrow then. Ning then walked up to Ely and said, let's go. Ely nodded and started walking for a bit before stopping and looking back. Yola, you're not coming? She asked. I will stay with them for a while, Yola said. Oh, okay, Ely said and walked away with Ning. Ely and Ning flew back to their new place of stay. Ning found himself a room and Ely walked in. What happened to, I will get there a little later after you, did you teleport here? Ely asked. Oh no, I came here after I was done with my task, Ning said. So no teleport. Also, who did you come with? They said you were with someone from a different continent, Ely asked. Oh, that's because I was, Ning said. Let's see, so after I did what I had to in the Grime Oasis, I was about 2 days later than you guys. So, I planned on taking my time, flying through the sky. But then, on the way, I saw a few people getting attacked by giant sand vultures in the sky and saved them. When I finally saw them, I realized I recognized them, Ning said. You recognized them? Is it someone from Clavis, or Seven Lights City? Ely asked. Oh no, I took you there but you didn't get to see them at that time, Ning said. Remember Deep Skull Island? Deep Skull Island? That sounds familiar, Ely thought. Wait, was that Anya's home? Yeah, that island. Remember how I told you I was there for about a year? Ning said. So, I met those guys again, the people from the Purple Beasts Academy? After I saved them and realized who they were, I showed them that I was an alumnus from their school and was allowed to come with them. Ely listened to his story quite attentively. So they didn't recognize you, huh? The people you knew must have already been dead by then, Ely said. I left that place for over 300 years before I came to Five Professions Academy. Even after that, it's been over 1,800 years. Given how those people could barely reach the Gold Core realm, I doubt they would survive at all. After Anya's father died, and the two heads and the other elders that knew her died, she started getting distant from the sect too. She said she rarely went back to revisit them. Even then, she would just reminisce outside and never go in, Ning said. I see. Anyway, continue. How did you come here so fast? Ely asked. Oh right. It turned out that they had an incredible flying artifact that they were gifted a few centuries ago and were using it. However, because they didn't have a nascent soul cultivator, they couldn't use it properly. I too wanted to get here just in time to meet you guys, so I sped up too. However, it seems that I may have been just a little bit too fast, Ning said. Ely got curious this time. I would love to see what artifact could allow someone to fly this fast, she said. Anyway, how did you get in with Sato? Oh yeah, that is an embarrassing story, Ning said with an awkward face. Spill it, Ely said. Sigh, when we reached here, I saw that there were people guarding the way. I was mostly hiding my cultivation, so the people from the Purple Beast sect were deemed weaklings and weren't allowed entry at all. So, I may or may not have flared my cultivation to give them a bit of a scare, Ning said with an embarrassed face. And that got you to Sato? Ely asked. Yeah, he had to come himself after a few of the students in charge of security fainted in midair after my little scare, Ning said. Ely started chuckling when she heard that. Hey, stop laughing. Everyone was looking at me. It was so embarrassing, Ning said. Well, congratulations. Many of the people coming here now know that you are more important than the Saint Alchemist himself. A day passed and it was time for the tournament. Do you know the schedule of the tournaments? Ning asked Ely. I'm not sure, Ely said, so she asked the same question to Yola, who was starting to act weird around Ning. The Saint Alchemist has requested that the alchemy competition be the first one, so that will take place in the first 10 days, I believe. Followed by another 10 days of other production-based competitions. Finally, ending with last 10 days of combat-based events, Yola said. Oh, alchemy is getting such a center stage, huh? The Saint Alchemist's influence must be a lot, Ning said. I wonder if it's comparable to Anya. Who's Anya? Either way, I doubt anyone can compare to Saint Alchemist, Yola said. Do you think Anya is as good as the Saint Alchemist? Ely whispered into Ning's head. She's comparable to me, so she has to be better than that old man, Ning said. Besides, he spent the last 2,100 years figuring stuff out, while Anya knew them all from the start. The advantage she got from the books I left was not small. And I kept adding on to them a few, every century. Sigh, it's a shame she won't be coming then, Ely said. The group soon reached the competition ground, which actually had a small secret realm in the center. Oh, an active secret realm. I'm surprised you don't have to open this one yourself, Ning said. All the competition takes place in there. We can see what happens inside out here, Ely said. They all had designated seats and it seemed they didn't have to leave at all. The desert island was filled with nothing but seats to accommodate the hundreds of thousands of people that had come to the place. I will go up there now. You guys go in when it's your time, Yola said to the rest of the teachers and students and turned around to leave. Just then Sato came over to their group and bowed. Senior Ning, would you be so kind as to grace us with your presence in the tower? He said. Oh, can Ely come? He asked. Sato looked over at Ely wondering if he should let her go up to the tower or not. Ning saw the hesitation and said, You do know that she's thrice as old as you, right? Sato's eyes immediately went wide and he turned around to look at Ely with a new eyes of reverence. Senior, I'm so sorry for my rude behavior. Would you please come up to the tower to watch the competition with us? It will be our honor if you did, he said. Ely chuckled and nodded. Together, the three of them flew off to the top of a massive tower north of the secret realm entrance with Yola following behind them. Oh, there are quite a few people here already, Ning said, looking at the group of people in the tower already. People of every color and culture were here, and Ning recognized quite a lot of them. He was just looking around when he noticed an old man come up behind him and immediately bowed. Inikaka, you're finally here, the man said. Ning turned around and smiled. It's good to see you again, Hijaka. I didn't know you guys had already arrived, Ning said. Hijaka smiled and said, we arrived late last night, so we couldn't come to meet you. Hijaka was now an old man with a white beard and hair. Being Hiesi's eldest grandson, Ning cared for Hijaka quite a lot as well. Senior Ely, it's great to see you again, Hijaka said. Please don't call me a senior. You are my elder, Ely said. After all, Hijaka was born way earlier than Ely ever did and was just as if not stronger than her. No, you are Inikaka's friend, so I cannot address you as anything other than a senior. Please do not take away this honor from me, Hijaka said. Ely hesitated a bit. It's fine. Let him say what he wants to, Ning said. All right. Let's go sit, Ely said. So, the three of them went up to their seat and sat down. More and more people arrived, and Ning talked with Hijaka for a while to pass the time. The Saint Alchemist arrived too and got a seat for himself. Ning watched as the competition was finally starting. The host for the competition started introducing it while Sato gave his own small explanation for the people sitting high in the tower. So, per the Saint Alchemist's request, we are going to have 10 different challenges for the alchemy part of the tournament. Every 3 challenges, we will weed out 80% of the contestants such that by the final day, we will only have to choose the winner from 1/100th of the original amount, Sato said. Everyone nodded as they heard him. The host was explaining the same thing down below and soon nearly 50,000 contestants were gathered in front of the entrance to the secret realm. So young, Ning said when he saw the contestants. Did you have some sort of requirements? Sato looked at Ning and said, yes, senior. Since these are all here to fight for Senior Saint Alchemist's inheritance, they are all required to be no older than a century old. The other people in the room showed no reaction when they heard that, so everyone but me knew, he thought. So, what's the first challenge? Someone asked. Sato turned back towards the rest of the crowd and continued explaining. So, for the first round, it will be ingredient recognizing test. The participants will be sent into the secret realm and will have to write the name of every ingredient they see in that order. Based on the correct name, in the correct place, they will earn exactly 1 point, Sato said. Oh, they started going in, someone said. Everyone looked down to see the first person go in. Since they just went in, we will have to wait about 9 minutes for the numbers to start popping up since they will only have 5 seconds per ingredient to recognize them without touching. The lines of participants were so long that most had to sit in their own place until their number was called. Even after droves of people went in, there seemed to be no end to the participants. So many contestants, someone said. Won't it take forever to complete this? Sato heard that and said, sorry for the misunderstanding. There isn't just one set of ingredients in there. We have set about 10 sets of 100. With 10 participants going in at once, it shouldn't take that long. That makes more sense. With that, it should be over in about 7 hours, the first person said again. Ning looked around, not knowing what to watch. There was nothing that could interest him at all. Finally, the rankings started popping out in front of them. It's out, someone said, pointing at the 2 different sets of rankings. However, both of those 2 had the same numbers and points on them. What's going on? Someone asked. They didn't know why there would possibly be 2 different, but same lists there. Oh, it's been 9 minutes, Sato said. Let me explain what is happening. The smaller ranking is the number of points each participant has acquired in the latest competition. The larger ranking is the same thing, but for all of the tournament. So, since it's only been a single competition, for now, it's like that. However, it will surely change in the upcoming days, Sato said. There is also the thing that participants that don't make it to the top 10,000 in the first 3 competition won't get to move on, so we only have those people in the main rankings, Sato said. Oh, I see. People finally understood what was going on. But then, Why is there a number instead of names? Someone asked. Oh, that is to keep the privacy of some of the participants, Sato said. There are many that expressed their desires to remain unknown, so we decided to respect their wishes and not use a numbering system instead of names.
Sigh. These kids, not even 100 years old, and already worrying about their image, someone said as they shook their head.
Is that why there are so many wearing cloaks and such? It's because you are allowing them to keep their privacy? Another person asked. Yes. That is exactly it, Sato said. If they wish to not be seen, then I thought it was fine for them to not show their face. Although, you do not have to worry about any sort of cheating. I have made sure that they don't change themselves with other people, so I have given a tracking talisman to them. The moment the talisman goes more than 3 meters away from them, they will be disqualified from the competition. They are only allowed to have the right to privacy after agreeing to that. Also, I secretly recorded their aura, and if the number they have do not match their aura, they will be disqualified then as well, Sato said. The many people up in the tower nodded their heads in agreement, thinking that was a good choice. While the participants down below did their best, the people in the tower were simply having fun watching the competition. Whoa, that's a 98, someone said. That's quite high. The test must be hard if only one person got a 98 in the last hour, another person said. Ah, I should have asked my grandson what his number was. Those kids told me nothing about it at all. Ning was surprised a bit too. I didn't know there was a number system, he said. You would have learned if you paid attention to Yola when she spoke, Eli said. Oh wait, you weren't even present when she explained that. Hee, I'm too old to listen to children speak, Ning said. Stop acting like you're old. I know you spent most of those times sleeping, Eli said. Hey, you can't call me out like that. So what if I slept? Time still passed, Ning said.
Did it pass for your body? Ely asked. That was not the criteria to be old as far as I'm aware, Ning said.
Hijaka saw the two of them bickering and laughed. Ning and Ely heard him and stopped talking. Ahem, so is anyone from Clavis taking part? Ning asked. Yes. There's my nephew's son that's going to take part, Hijaka said. Your nephew's son? Oh, Hecte's grandson, huh? Man, he was just a child when I saw him after returning from Vilmore. I can't believe he's already a grandfather too, Ning said. Yes, his grandson, Yandy, is taking part too, along with a few other kids from the city, Hijaka said. Although I must say, I also didn't realize the kids were going to have numbers instead of names. Now I don't know how well they did. How well did they learn from the books I left? Ning asked. Unfortunately, not very much, Hijaka said. Still, it should be okay, right? Ning said. Numbers after numbers started popping up. By 5 hours mark, there were about 10 different 99, 125 different 98, and several hundreds of 97. Given how long it was going on, they were surprised there weren't many more. The ingredients must be quite hard then, Ning said. They waited for some more time and another 299 point numbers appeared. They were all wondering how well that was when suddenly, a number with 100 points jumped up to the top of the list. Whoa, a 100. That's awesome, someone said. Who did that? Another person asked. They watched down at the entrance and saw 10 figures walk out. None of them had any intentions of hiding themselves, and they could clearly see their faces. Unfortunately, with 10 people coming out, and none of them showing any positive faces, the group in the tower couldn't guess who it was. Just then, another 100 popped up. This caused some more commotion in the tower as well. 2 back-to-back 100s? There must be quite a few talented youngsters in the back half, someone said. Oh wow, who is it this time, can we tell? They said and looked down once again. They saw 9 sad faces with no sign of happiness in them, and finally, a 10th figure that was cloaked and was hiding their face. It seems to be the cloaked figure, right? Someone asked. It's quite possible, another one said. Sato stroked his short beard and said, truly amusing. Under Saint Alchemist's direct order, we set the competition to have 80 common ingredients, 16 uncommon ingredients, 3 super rare ingredients, and finally the last one that was said to be extinct before the Saint Alchemist found it. Which means that there are 2 participants out there that not only knew about the ingredient but also recognized it, Sato said. The competition soon ended and the result for the day was out. Everyone was either happy, sad, optimistic or doubtful in some way, shape, or form. Still, they looked forward to the next day, which arrived before they even realized it. Sato explained the purpose of this competition, which was to go in and separate the ingredients into 8 piles, belonging to one of the 7 different elements, or a final one without elements. The points they earned were between 1 and 100 based on how well they did. They all had exactly 5 minutes to separate, and there were over 200 different places set so that the participants could take part at once. The competition started, and once more there were numbers that started popping out left and right. People watched as the points the participants got were a little worse than last time. Still, somehow, there were over hundreds of people who got above 95 points. They kept watching, and this time, there were 3 participants that got 100 points by the time it was all over. That kid was there last time too, someone said. Yeah, so was that green-robed junior, another one said. Since the competition for day 2 ended as well, they all went back to their place of stay once more and came back for the 3rd day. Today is the final day for nearly 40,000 participants, isn't it? Someone asked. To think they would get rid of 80% just on the 3rd day, that's quite something, another one said. Sato began explaining the 3rd test as well. The 3rd test was simple. A massive list of nearly 100 ingredients would appear on the screen in the air. The participants had to write pills that contained those ingredients such that no 2 pills could have the same ingredient. Also, they had to use as many of the 100 pills as they could. The time started, and there were exactly 10 minutes this time. The participants started writing, and Ning looked at the lists of ingredients. The moment he saw them, his mind immediately churned out 12 different pills he could make with them without leaving a single ingredient. The participants were done, and it was time for the judges to tally the points. That's quite a hard task, isn't it? I could only do about 93 ingredients. I did 94, but that was with a pill I made on my own. Saint Alchemist, how many can you make? The Saint Alchemist spoke in a raspy voice and said, It's not fair for me to answer since I came up with the question myself, but I will say I used 14 different pills to make that question. The Saint Alchemist had just finished speaking when the ranking board updated. The people who were talking were suddenly wide-eyed when they saw 2 different numbers with a total of 300 points. 3 more days had passed, and 3 more days of competitions were gone too. For the past 3 days, the competition was focused on problem-solving using pills. The participants were given questions such as what ingredient would give a certain feature to a pill, or what pill would heal which damage. There were many such questions, and each day had a maximum of 100 points assigned to them. By the end of the 6th day, only 2,000 of the original 50,000 people were left. And of them, 2 people had exactly 600 points. The people at the tower as well as everyone around were quite surprised. They didn't think there would be 2 people that would ever do everything correctly in all the competitions so far. Even the person at the 3rd rank was at least 5 points behind.
By now, the group of people had pinpointed who the 2 people with 600 points were. One of them was a young man with a generic face and hair and wore white robes. Another one was a hooded figure that people couldn't recognize aside from the cloth itself.
They really are quite talented, aren't they? Someone asked as they watched the remaining 2,000 people participate in the 3rd event that was fully shown now on the 7th day. Truly. Whoa, that hooded figure already remembered the entire recipe. No way, another person said.
Look, that young man stood up too, someone else said.
The 2 figures walked up and rewrote the entire recipe from scratch and handed it to the staff and went back for another one. They had 10 recipes to remember in total and 5 hours in total to remember them all. Each mistake cost them a point for up to a maximum of 10 points per recipe. The group of people watched the points for this competition go up by 10 for both of them. That young man truly is quite good, Ning said. What about the hooded kid? Ely asked. Oh, I'm not talking about alchemy, Ning said. I'm talking about the amount of effort one had to put in to learn it all. I don't think the hooded child had to go through as much trouble to learn it all as the young man. Although, I do have to say they're both incredibly lucky in their own way, Ning said. The competition continued, and soon the winners were revealed to be the same 2 young people with full 100 marks. 2 more days went by, and the total number of participants dropped by 80% once more as only 400 participants remained. The people started gathering back on the tower to watch the competition unfold. The 400 different participants entered the secret realm once more and got ready for their competition. So, what is the challenge today? Someone asked.
The host had started explaining down below, but these people didn't care about him at all. Since Sato was here to explain the rules of the competition, they didn't care about anyone else.
Sato was more than happy to explain, but before he could, the Saint Alchemist stood up. Everyone, I would like to genuinely thank you from the bottom of my heart for indulging this old man's final wishes. I had stupidly given away my life in the pursuit of alchemy, and I did learn a lot. However, I got no human connection, no relationship formed with anyone. I lived for over 3,000 years long, but every second of that was lonely. Now, the end of my days are coming and I regret it all. However, that does not mean that I don't take pride in what I've learned. I spent my life learning alchemy, and the knowledge I acquired will be useful to everyone. So, before I passed it along to just anyone, I had this little competition set up to find the perfect person to take my inheritance. I, Jiren Heldi, once again thank you all for coming here. The old, crooked man bowed in front of everyone, and the people immediately started explaining how it was unnecessary. Ning watched and smiled as the old man was treated with the respect he deserved. The old man lived a sad life, but his sadness won't be in vain, Ning said softly. Don't you know more than him? Eli asked. Maybe, maybe not. I don't have omniscient knowledge of alchemy, so what I know definitely isn't everything. So, there might be places where he knows more than me, Ning said. I see, Eli said. The Saint Alchemist sat back on his seat and Sato stood back up to continue explaining since he was cut off. Everyone, today is the final day of the competition, so there will be a single task for the contestants to do, and that is to make all 10 of the pills that they had memorized from the 7th day. They will be provided with all the necessary ingredients and will be given exactly one chance to make a pill. They have exactly 10 hours, and in that 10 hours, they will have to finish all 10 pills. Depending on the grade of the pills they will make, someone here will become the Saint Alchemist's disciple and inheritor for sure, Sato said. The group of people, especially the ones that still had their children in the game, were very much looking forward to seeing their performance. The competition started and people could start seeing the contestants making pills inside the secret realm. We have to focus on just those 2, right? Someone asked. Maybe, maybe not, someone else said. What do you mean? The first person said. Do you guys think they will make 10th grade pills? The second person said. Of course not, another person answered. What about 9th grade pills? Or 8th grade? The second person asked again. I would say 6 is the highest possible, maybe 7. Definitely not 8 or 9, someone said. Yeah, so we don't know how their performance will be. It's very much possible that someone else will make pills that are better than theirs. In that case, there is some chance of the gap being closed, the second person. Well, you keep saying that, but look, another person said. What? A surprised exclamation appeared from the crowd as they looked up in the sky and saw 2 8 back to back. Both of them belonged to the 2 people. While you kept on talking, both of them made 8th rank pill. Dear Lord, they must be very talented to do that in under 3 minutes. Even Ning was surprised to see them make pills that fast. Did 2 behemoths of an alchemist appear at once? Ning wondered. He wanted to look it up with the system, but the mystery intrigued him. He would wait for the answer to come out on its own. That kid though is using a really weird technique, Ning thought silently at the young man. Ning couldn't really find anything unique about the robed figure aside from their speed. In another 5 minutes, another 2 8 points were added to both of their rankings. The crowd was shocked once again. Not only were they good at making pills, but they were also incredibly fast, which was really surprising to them all. I wonder where they got their skill, Ning thought. While the others took 10 to 15 minutes to make a single pill at the fastest, the 2 best ones took mere 5 minutes. Right in front of everyone's eyes, they made 8 different 8th grade pills, gathering a total of 64 points, going head to head against each other. However, on the 9th pill, a problem occurred. No one could tell if it was from fatigue, or from not memorizing the recipe correctly, but the young man made a mistake. A very small mistake, but one that was very much costly. When he went to submit that pill, it turned out that it was a 7th grade pill, compared to the robed figure who made an 8th grade pill. The young man felt the world crash down beside him. He would have to make a 9th grade pill to make sure he equalized their total points again, or he would lose for sure. The young man was devastated, but he kept his cool and got on to making his pill. Aish, he lost, someone said. Poor child, it was a good run too, another person said. Truly. I wonder if he was hasty, another person said. Time slowly passed and the young man was getting close to making his pills once more. He could tell that he was definitely making a good pill, but he couldn't be confident that it was a 9th grade pill. The sadness was clearly visible on his face and it struck the heart of many others that watched the competition. He finished making the final pill and brought it out to look at it. He sighed when he realized that there was no way the pill was in 9th grade. He started feeling dejected, especially since the second place didn't have anything to gain. It was all for the first place. He was about to call it quits when suddenly he heard a round of gasps from all around him. He quickly looked up to see everyone was looking somewhere. He turned his face in the same direction and saw that the hooded figure was done with their pill too. Did he get 9th rank? He thought and got even sadder. But then the hooded figure opened their palm and a bunch of dust dropped from their hand. The young man looked in surprise. The hooded figure had just destroyed their last pill. Huh? What's going on? Did I see that right? Did that guy just crush the pill? Is this some form of pill-making technique that I don't know about? Many of the people watching, including the participants, were confused as to what was happening. The scattered powder that was once a pill was truly something no one imagined they would get to see on the final day of the alchemy competition. The host, who looked over the entire competition, stood up and walked up to the hooded figure. Was that intentional? He asked. People could see the hooded figure simply nod. You do know that you won't get another set of ingredients, right? He asked. The hooded figure nodded once more. The host and the rest of the people came to understand that it was intentional. You will get 0 points for this final pill, the host said. The hooded figure nodded and sat down. Very well, the host said, and returned back to his spot and made the staff update the numbers. The young man who had nearly lost was perhaps the most confused about all the people in the secret realm. He was a single step being the hooded figure and was sure that he was going to lose, and yet, somehow he was going to win. He quickly walked up to the staff and recorded his pill and got 8 points for the pill, getting a total of 979 points in the entire competition. The hooded figure lost with a total of 972 points, but still managed to be the second. The other contestants kept on making pills, but they were sure that they had lost for sure. Still, on the off chance that the Saint Alchemist took in more than a single disciple, they tried their best. Even then, the third highest point was around 968 points, an entire 4 points lower than the second person even after they lost an entire pill. The host started setting up the award ceremony down below while Sado started speaking up in the tower. Seniors, let's go below and congratulate the children. They've done truly amazing stuff in the competition today, Sado said. Yes, we should go, someone said. The Saint Alchemist was the first to stand up and fly down below, while everyone else started following behind him. We should go too, Ning said. He was very curious about something that he had noticed some time ago, so he stood up and flew down too. By now the participants were all outside the secret realm, and all but a single one had a sad expression on their faces. The young man who had won it all still carried a face of disbelief as he couldn't understand why he won the way he did. He kept looking towards the hooded figure to get some sort of answer, but the hooded figure didn't turn towards him once at all. From what he could see, the hooded figure didn't seem to have many thoughts about what they had done. Congratulations everyone on your performances in the competition. No matter how many points you got in this final one, you best believe that you are some of the best young alchemists that the entire world has for now, Sado said. So, with that, we would like to congratulate you all for doing so well in this intercontinental competition, truly glorious. Everyone applauded once Sado said that. The ones that were feeling a little sad suddenly had their spirits lifted. Sado then called out the top 10 to start handing out awards. One after another, he handed out awards for the 7 of the top 10. However, for the third-ranking alchemist, he stepped down. The old man slowly stepped up the stage and looked at the remaining 3 people. Young man, he said to the third-ranking alchemist, you might have come behind these 2 fellows, and that may make you feel like you're inadequate, but never forget you came ahead of 49,997 different people. You accomplished something that not many can hope to in their entire life, and for that, I award you this pill, the Saint Alchemist said as he handed him a pill. This pill is a soul-nourishing pill. It will improve your mental state and help your mind become better than it already is. As you may know by how mind is very important for an alchemist, the Saint Alchemist said. The young man thanked the Saint Alchemist as much as he could. The Saint Alchemist smiled and moved on to the remaining 2. Can I ask you something, little girl? Why did you destroy the pill? The Saint Alchemist asked. The hooded figure remained quiet for a while before answering with a single question. How did you know I was a girl? Haha. I have a particularly strong nose that can smell the difference between the most minute of smells, and you young lady give off a lot of pheromones a lady usually gives off. It's just basic biology, the Saint Alchemist said. The people around them were surprised that the hooded figure was a girl. Even Ning was surprised. The old man really is quite great, isn't he? He thought. So, are you going to answer this old man? The Saint Alchemist asked. Well, it's simple really. I was going to win, and I didn't want to win, she said. The Saint Alchemist didn't understand what she meant. Can you explain? Yeah. I only took part because I wanted to see how good the others were. I never wanted your inheritance, she said. I mean no disrespect, however. I was going to lose if others did badly, but then he started keeping up with me. After a while, I liked the competition and kept it going. But he made a small mistake and it seemed like I was going to win, the girl said. So, since I didn't really want to become first in the first place, I decided to give up at the last moment. I hope that explains it all.